The seventh day of the Cold War between Ethan and me, he slammed the door and never came back. Friends said he was just waiting for me to swallow my pride and apologize. They didn't know the antacid I had secretly slipped into his desk drawer had already expired. Just like my hope for us to make up, it had gone past its date too. I forgot to buy the iced Americano Ethan had specifically asked for. Because of that, he didn't speak to me the whole evening. I apologized 3 times. Should I go downstairs now and get it? Or order delivery? I'll buy you 2 cups tomorrow, okay? He didn't even lift an eyelid. He grabbed his car keys and walked out. The door slammed. The bang made the photo of us on the wall tilt. That picture was still in the cheap 9.9 yuan frame we bought at IKEA last year. Is it worth it? All over a cup of coffee. But I didn't dare say it out loud. It had been like this before. The last time I overrode his game save, he ignored me for 3 days. The time before that, because my mother came to stay and I didn't tell him in advance, he went a week without coming home for dinner. In the end I had to buy gifts and say the right things to make up. This time I sent a message as usual. Don't be mad, okay, with a little cat bowing sticker. He didn't reply. 3 hours. I stared at my phone, the screen dimming, and then I lit it again. I refreshed the feed a dozen times. I saw him like a mutual friend's post. He just wouldn't answer me. The kitchen still held the pork rib soup I had simmered. The kind he loved most. By now it should be stone cold. Like my heart. 5th day of the silent treatment. 3rd night of insomnia. The dark circles under my eyes were so heavy even concealer couldn't hide them. I almost missed my stop on the way to work. I called the client's contact by the wrong name in the meeting room and was scolded by my manager in front of everyone. Anna, you haven't been yourself lately. I lowered my head and apologized. Out of the corner of my eye I caught Ethan's message avatar. It was still the profile shot of his side profile that I'd taken. But he hadn't reached out to me in 5 days. I saw him at the staff canteen at noon. He was sitting at a table with several colleagues, laughing particularly happily. I carried my tray over. When he saw me, his smile vanished instantly. Something wrong? Are you coming home for dinner tonight? I made the sweet and sour spare ribs you like. Working late. He kept his head down and continued playing with his phone. His colleague awkwardly tried to smooth things over. Ethan has been really busy lately. I stood there, like a beggar. I waited until 9 that night. He really didn't come back. I reheated the spare ribs 3 times, the meat went dry. I messaged him, working late until when? Should I pick you up? No reply. I called, it rang until it cut off automatically. I suddenly remembered his birthday last month. I had saved up to buy him a watch. He opened it, glanced at it and said, "Oh, thanks," then put it in a drawer and never wore it. In that drawer were the antacids I had bought for him. He drinks at business dinners a lot, so I kept them on hand. Now the medicine is almost expired. He probably doesn't even know. Day 7. I decided to break the ice myself. I went to the mall and bought the game controller he'd been mentioning for ages. I also booked a reservation at that hard-to-get-into Japanese restaurant. I messaged him, 7 p.m. tonight, Moritea. I've reserved us a table. He replied with but I was so thrilled my hands trembled at my desk. He still wanted to talk to me. I arrived at the restaurant half an hour early. I placed the gift in a conspicuous spot. I confirmed the menu with the waiter several times. 7:10, he still hadn't arrived. I sent a message, "Where are you?" No reply. 7:30, I called. His phone was off. 8 o'clock, the restaurant manager came over and asked, "Miss, will you still be waiting?" I bit my lip and said to wait a little longer. 9 o'clock. The restaurant was closed. I stood on the roadside holding cold sushi and a gift. It started to rain. I hadn't brought an umbrella. When I trudged home soaked, I found him actually at home, sitting on the couch playing a game. "Where did you go?" He didn't look up. "I waited for you for 3 hours. "Oh, I forgot." His fingers flew over the screen. "I sent you a message. The phone's dead." He won that round and finally looked up at me. "Why are you wet?" I stared at him, suddenly unable to speak. Rainwater trickled from my hair into my eyes, stinging unpleasantly. He got up and went to the bathroom to fetch a towel. Threw it to me. "Wipe yourself off, don't catch a cold." I held the towel to my face, still carrying the scent of his usual body wash. "Ethan, can we please have a proper talk?" "About what?" He picked up his phone. "I've got a gaming session with friends, you should go to sleep." Then he walked into the study and closed the door. I stood frozen, and heard the lock click. It sounded like something snapping. I started writing a little essay. I typed and erased in the phone's notes app, again and again. In the end I sent 3 full screens. I began with an apology for forgetting to buy coffee. Then I went on about how stressed I'd been at work lately. I even confessed to him that I hadn't told him about my mom being hospitalized last month. "See, I'm so pitiful, you should reach out to me now," and the moment I sent it I regretted it. It was too humble. But it couldn't be taken back. I waited the whole morning. Every buzz of my phone made my heart race. In the end I only got the meeting notice in the department chat. I ran into him at lunch in the break room. He was laughing and joking with a female colleague. When he saw me his expression immediately went cold. "Did you get the message?" I asked softly. Well. Busy, talk later." He walked past me holding a coffee. His sleeve brushed my arm without even pausing. That night I bought a cake. His favorite, chocolate. I lit scented candles too. I made the apartment look like a birthday. He didn't come back until 1 a.m. He smelled of alcohol. Seeing the cake on the dining table, he paused. "Whose birthday is it today?" My throat tightened. "No one's birthday." "Then what's the point of this?" He loosened his tie and headed toward the bedroom. "Ethan." I followed him. "Can we not do this anymore?" He looked back at me, his gaze terrifyingly clear. "Anna, you do this every time." "What do you mean? What else can you do besides cry and apologize?" He closed the door and took a shower. Water roared. I stood outside, watching the chocolate plaque on the cake slowly melt. "Here's to us making up" now looked like a puddle of mud. Bad flu. Dizzy and unable to stand. I took a day off and went alone for an 4. I hissed when the nurse inserted the needle. She asked, "No one to accompany you?" I shook my head. I opened the post and uploaded a photo of the 4 drip visible only to him. Caption, "Sick." 5 minutes later he liked it. Just 1 like. No comment, no private message, not even a question mark. Drops of medicine fell one by one. Like counting time. A couple sat next to me. The girl was also on an 4, and the boy kept holding her hand to warm it. "Does it hurt? Do you want to eat anything? When you're better I'll take you to that new Japanese place." I turned my head to the other side. Tears splashed onto the phone screen. They blurred that glaring like. 3 hours later they removed the 4. The nurse warned, "Get some rest, take your medicine on time." I nodded. The sunlight was harsh as I walked out of the hospital. On the way back down to the apartment building I saw a convenience store. I went in and bought a pack of cigarettes. He hates the smell of smoke, so I had quit for 3 years. Now, all of a sudden, I wanted one. It took several tries for the lighter to catch. The first drag made me cough hard. But I didn't throw it away. I leaned against the utility pole and smoked it slowly to the end. On the way upstairs I ran into the neighbor in the elevator. She frowned, "It smells strongly of smoke." I said sorry. In my mind I thought, Ethan, you're even worse than a stranger. I couldn't sleep in the middle of the night. I began to sift through old chat logs on my phone. March 2021, we had our first fight. Because he threw away the flowers I gave him. Sorry, I didn't know you were allergic to pollen. In August 2021, I lost the necklace he gave me. It was my fault for not taking care of it, I already bought a new one. In January 2022, a business trip made me miss his birthday. Next time I'll be back early for sure and make it up to you. In June 2022, I had dinner with a male colleague and didn't report it. It won't happen again, I'll tell you everywhere I go. 2023, there were too many. I couldn't find the beginning. Every time it was me apologizing. No matter who was right or wrong. He was always above me, waiting for me to climb up and beg him. One time I asked him, why is it never you who soothes me? He said, because you'll come to me first. At the time it felt sweet. Now it seems like a trap. I turned my phone off. I could hear him washing up in the bathroom. He actually came back to sleep today. But he slept in the guest room. At 3 a.m. I heard him get up to pour water. He deliberately let the cup clatter loudly. I didn't move. After a while, he actually came to knock on my door. Do you have any stomach medicine? I kept my eyes shut and pretended to be asleep. He knocked twice more and left. I fumbled in the dark to open the bedside drawer. The box of antacids was on top. It was 2 weeks past its expiration, but I didn't tell him. I started trying not to care. When he came home late, I didn't wait by the door. When he was silent, I didn't try to start a conversation. When he threw things, I put on headphones. The first day was especially unbearable. My hands trembled as I refreshed his posts over and over, more than a dozen times. The second day was a little better. I only checked 5 times. Day 3. I set his messages to do not disturb. Unfollowed him. Moved all his photos in my phone album into a hidden folder. Day 4. I went shopping with my best friend. While trying on clothes she exclaimed, "You've lost so much weight lately?" I looked at the protruding collarbones in the mirror. I guess it's okay. She asked in a low voice, how are things with Ethan? Just like that. Still giving me the silent treatment? Why is it taking so long this time? I tugged at the tag. Maybe he's just tired. I used to think I'd die if I left him. Now I realize. I won't. At worst I'll hurt a little. Like getting a wisdom tooth pulled. It stings when they numb you. It hurts worse when the anesthesia wears off. But it will heal. We wandered into the men's section. My best friend tugged at my sleeve. Want to buy Ethan a shirt? Use it as a stepping stone. I looked at the blue striped shirt in her hands. It was almost identical to the one in his wardrobe. The one I had given him last year, but he seemed to have worn it only once. No. I pulled her toward the women's section. I want to buy myself a dress. In the fitting room. I watched myself in the mirror wearing a red dress. Suddenly I realized I hadn't bought such a bright color in a long time. Because he liked understated tones. To hell with his understated taste, I swiped my card and bought the dress. I also got a pair of high heels. My heel got blistered when I left the mall. When I put on a plaster, I thought of the last time we went shopping. I had blisters then too. He frowned, can you not be so picky? Then he walked off on his own. I limped along behind him. Now I put on the plaster myself. Although it's crooked and messy. But no one will complain that I'm slow. 32nd day of the Cold War. He actually came home from work on time. He was carrying that hard-to-get internet-famous cake. For you. He set the paper bag on the dining table, his movements a little stiff. I was sitting on the sofa reading the project brief, not even looking up. Put it there. He stood where he was, not moving. It's the one you like, Taro. Thanks. I flipped a page. He came over and stood by the sofa. Still mad? No. Then have the cake. Wait, I haven't finished reading this plan. He reached out and snatched the papers from me. Anna. I finally looked up at him. There was a look of discomfort on his face, like someone who'd rehearsed apologies many times. Can we let it go? Is it over? I looked at the cake box in his hands, the ribbon tied lopsided. Just like his attempt at making amends now, sloppy and half-hearted. Ethan, we need to talk. I told you it's over, didn't I? He tossed the papers back onto the couch. Do you have to keep fussing over this? I watched him turn to the kitchen to get a plate. His back was as self-righteous as ever, as if simply offering an olive branch meant I should gratefully accept it. He cut the cake and placed it in front of me. He even found a fork. Eat. I didn't move. If you don't eat it, I'll throw it away. He made a show of picking it up. Let's break up. The fork hit the floor with a crisp sound. He stared for a long moment, then laughed out loud. Anna, are you done making a scene? I'm serious. He bent to pick up the fork and set it on the coffee table. Is it just because I forgot that Japanese meal? No. Because I liked your post? No. So what do you actually want? His voice rose, carrying its usual impatience. I looked into his eyes. There used to be my reflection there. Now there was only annoyance and bewilderment. Ethan, do you remember when my birthday is? He paused. Next month, I guess. What exact day? The 15th? The 25th. I corrected calmly. The gift you gave me last year was a necklace. Right, wasn't that pretty expensive? The chain had an E engraved on it, the initial of your name. His expression froze. I thought you had ordered the wrong one, even made excuses for you, saying maybe it was the brand's design. Later I saw the same style on Joanna's post, hers had a Q engraved. His face changed. You searched through my phone? No. She screenshotted it and accidentally captured it when she sent it to the group. I stood up and went to the kitchen to pour water. He followed behind. She insisted I buy it, said it was a sister pair. For that? No. I put the cup in the dishwasher and turned to look at him. Do you remember what you said the time I passed out from menstrual cramps? He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. Stop pretending, it's not the first time. The day my mother had surgery, I called you 17 times. I'm in a meeting. Did you come back after the meeting? The kitchen light was too bright, making his forehead sweat. I suddenly felt especially bored. What's so important? He grabbed my wrist. Aren't I back for you now? I gently pulled my hand away. The time when it mattered has already passed. He blocked the kitchen doorway so I couldn't leave. Say it clearly, what do you mean the time when it mattered has passed? Like that cup of coffee, when you wanted it I couldn't buy it. Now buying 10 cups won't help. You're breaking up over a cup of coffee? He circled back to the starting point again. He never understood the point. I tried to pass by him. He grabbed my shoulder. Anna, I'm warning you, don't make a scene. Let go. What are you going to do if I don't? It's always like this, give a little sweetness and you turn hostile? I looked at his face, so close I could reach out and touch it. I suddenly remembered the first time I stayed overnight at his place. I broke out in hives from an allergy, and he ran across the city at midnight to buy medicine. Back then there was tenderness in his eyes. Now there was only possessiveness. Ethan, do you love me? He froze, his grip loosening a little. Of course I do. Then why do you never comfort me when I cry? I hate women who wail and sob. Why do you never take care of me when I'm sick? I'm very busy. Why am I always the one apologizing? Because you make more mistakes. He blurted it out. Then we all fell silent. He seemed to realize what he'd said, his face showed a little panic. That's not what I meant. I nodded. Thank you for finally telling the truth. He tried to hug me. I stepped back, my spine hitting the refrigerator. Don't touch me. Baby, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. He said again in that coquettish tone. He always used that trick before. It never failed. But this time I watched his lips move and felt suddenly nauseated. Ethan, when I was waiting for you to apologize, what I was actually waiting for was a proof. Proof that you still care about me. Of course I care. But you're only saying that now, it's already too late. I pushed him away, walked to the living room and picked up my backpack. Where are you going? He snatched my bag and threw it on the sofa. The zipper wasn't closed properly and things spilled out. The box of expired stomach medicine rolled to his feet. He held the pill box between his fingers, his hand trembling slightly. Why didn't you give it to me? I picked up the scattered items and stuffed them back into the bag. He stood where he was, staring at the expiration date on the box. It's expired. Just like us. When I pulled the suitcase out the door, he was still examining the box as if he could decode some secret from it. Do you have to leave today? I'm going on a business trip for a week tomorrow. He stood in the doorway. Can we talk when I get back? There's nothing to talk about anymore. Anna. He grabbed the suitcase handle. Tell me what I did wrong. Can't I change? Those words again. Exactly the same as last time and the time before that. It's not you. It's my fault. I looked him in the eye. My mistake was thinking you would change. His fingers loosened a little. I took the chance and opened the door. The hallway light clicked on. All over a cup of coffee? He asked from behind. I glanced back at him one last time. Because of every little thing, from the coffee to the sushi to the antacid. Because all those small things added up and made me feel worthless. The elevator arrived. I stepped in and pressed the button for the first floor. He chased out wearing loungewear and slippers. If you leave, don't come back. The elevator doors closed slowly. The last image was his reddened eyes. I couldn't tell if it was from anger or from crying. Probably anger. He was such a proud man. When I reached the first floor, my phone vibrated. Come back, let's start over. I stared at it for a moment, then turned off the screen. I dragged my suitcase out of the lobby. The night wind was cool, but the air tasted like freedom. My phone vibrated again. Did I agree to break up? You haven't finished taking your stuff, are you not taking that succulent? I stood by the road waiting for the car and dragged him into the blacklist. The motion was practiced, as if I had rehearsed it many times. In fact, I hadn't. It was just that when your heart dies, your hand's steady. When the rideshare driver helped me with my luggage, he asked, Miss, on a business trip? I watched the apartment building recede in the rearview mirror. Yes, going far away. The kind of going that means not coming back. I stayed at the hotel for 3 days. On the 4th day, the agent took me to see an apartment. It was an old complex, but the sunlight was good. Outside the balcony a plane tree stood, its leaves half yellow, half green. The people who rent here are mostly young, and the soundproofing is decent, the agent said as he pushed open the bedroom window. The wind made the curtains billow up. Like some kind of welcome ceremony. I signed the contract. 3 months rent up front and 1 month as deposit. The balance in my bank card shrank considerably. But somehow I felt oddly reassured. On moving day I hired a courier to help. I had fewer things than I'd imagined. 2 cardboard boxes and a suitcase. So that was the weight of 3 years of a relationship. As he carried the boxes, the man asked, "Is there more?" I shook my head. He suddenly pointed behind me. "Is that gentleman your friend?" Ethan stood at the entrance of the residential complex. Dressed in a suit, he looked like he had just come from the office. In his hand he carried the potted succulent he had threatened to throw away. Hurry up, the car's parked on the roadside, might get a ticket. The young man hugged his box and went up the stairs first. Ethan walked over and handed me the succulent. You forgot this. Thanks. There was a small scorch on the rim of the succulent pot. He had accidentally burned it with a cigarette last year. I said we should replace the pot, but he never remembered to buy one. I just got back from a business trip. Found you blocked my number. He looked at the apartment building behind me. You live in a place like this? It's fine. Anna, don't be stubborn. He put his hand in his pocket as if to pull out a cigarette. Then he came out empty-handed. You used to say you hate old shabby places the most. People change. I hugged the succulents and was about to turn and go upstairs. I'll change, he said suddenly. His voice was a little hoarse. Didn't you say I never change? I'll change. There were red veins in his eyes, like he hadn't slept well. Ethan, it's too late. I turned and walked through the stairwell door. The sensor light came on in response. He shouted from behind, you treat this piece of junk like a treasure. I gave you so many bags and you never took care of them like this. I looked down at the succulent in my arms. It was certainly the cheapest thing he'd ever given me. But it was also the only thing that had survived until now. The day after we settled into the new place, I came down with a bad cold. Maybe it was from sweating while moving and then getting chilled. Shivering under the quilt, I suddenly remembered the time Ethan had a fever and I took 3 days off to care for him. I brought him water, fed him medicine, wiped his body. He complained the porridge was too hot, the TV was too loud, my hands were too clumsy. Now I had a fever of 39 degrees Celsius and forced myself up to order takeout. The porridge shop had a 30 yuan minimum. I ordered century egg and lean pork congee with a tea egg and some pickles to make up the amount. The delivery guy hung the bag on the doorknob. No contact needed. Wishing you a speedy recovery. I squatted by the doorway and finished the whole bowl of porridge. It was too salty, so strong it made my eyes water. I woke up coughing in the middle of the night and found my phone vibrating. It was him. How did you get my number? I backed up my contacts. His voice was slurred with drink. My stomach hurts. I can't find any medicine. The pharmacy is open 24 hours. Anna. He inhaled, the house is a mess. Ethan, we're breaking up. There was a pause on the other end. I don't agree. I hung up and blocked the number. Crawling back under the covers, my hand brushed the succulent under the pillow. The little chip on the rim of the pot snagged at my skin. I wrapped it with a bandage. Like dressing a wound. Like dealing with this relationship. It won't heal, but at least it won't get worse. I bought new curtains over the weekend. Pale yellow, with tiny sunflower patterns. Ethan prefers dark gray, says it hides dirt. Now I want the room to be brighter. When installing them I found the holes were in the wrong places. I didn't dare drill in my rented place. So I had to make do with adhesive hooks. Hung up crookedly. But when the wind blows the sunflowers dance in the sunlight. It's rather nice. On Monday, on my way to work, I ran into him in the elevator. He stared at the coffee in my hand. You never used to drink Americanos. Because no one was going to complain it's bitter and force me to add sugar and milk. His Adam's apple bobbed. Dinner together tonight? I ignored him as the elevator doors opened and I was the first to step out. He followed behind. Is that pot of succulents still alive? Actually. He hesitated. My mom bought those when she was alive. I stopped in my tracks. I'd never heard him say that before. So after she died, I was really afraid of killing them. His voice was very low, carrying a kind of fragility I had never heard from him. Don't worry, I'll take good care of it, I said, turning to look at him. But not for you. His expression clouded. I understand. That afternoon he sent me an email. Thank you, I stared at the sender line, Ethan. Suddenly I remembered the love letters he wrote when we first dated. Handwritten in fountain pen, the characters neat. Anna, I will always treat you well. So it turned out always could be so short. Department team building took us to the Japanese place where I had originally planned to eat with him. My coworkers egged me on to try the sake. Anna seems to handle her liquor well? I lifted the cup and sipped. Bitter. Is it good? Not bad. Actually, I wanted to vomit. Passing the kitchen on my way to the restroom, I saw the chef slicing salmon. The blade came down again and again, the grain clear. I thought of how Ethan hated raw food most of all. Every time he came with me to a Japanese place he'd furrow his brow. Feels like chewing rubber. Then why go to Moritea at all? Maybe he just wanted to see me waiting for him. Waiting until I'm anxious, until I'm humiliated. Waiting for me to prove how much I love him. Back in the private room, my phone showed a missed call. Another unknown number. I deleted the log at once. My colleague Colin leaned over. I think I just saw Director Ethan at the door. Must be mistaken. Maybe, he never bothers to come to our department's events. Colin was drunk and unusually chatty. Honestly, your breakup doesn't surprise me one bit. I turned the wine glass in my hand and didn't reply. Once you took leave with a fever and he called you delicate in the conference room. Another time he threw your proposal back at you in public. We all wondered in private, what are you after with him? I stared at my reflection in the glass. After him? His occasional tenderness. Like someone in the desert seeing a mirage of the sea. Knowing it's false, yet unable to help running toward it. When the event ended, Colin grabbed my arm. Honestly, you look much happier now. I stood at the shop doorway waiting for the car. The autumn wind lifted my skirt. Red, the color he hated most. The rideshare arrived and I opened the rear door. Suddenly someone rushed over and pressed against the door. Ethan was panting, his hair disheveled. Let's start over. A smell of alcohol hit me. You're drunk. I'm wide awake. His voice was loud, drawing the eyes of passers-by. This time I'll be the one chasing you, okay? I looked at his bloodshot eyes. Once, those eyes only needed to glance at me and my heart would race. Now there was only calm. Ethan, the prerequisite for mending a broken mirror is that the mirror is worth fixing. I slid into the car and shut the door. Through the glass I watched him standing where he was, his figure growing smaller and smaller. The driver asked, boyfriend? Ex-boyfriend. He looks pretty pitiful, I said, rolling down the car window to let the wind in. Serves him right. At the end of year project awards, the proposal I'd worked on won the gold prize. The stage lights were so bright when I went up to accept it that I had to squint to make out the audience. Ethan was sitting in the third row, clapping slowly. The prize money was more than I'd expected and was deposited straight into my payroll account. I went to the bank and opened a new card, putting the prize money aside. I wanted to use it for something special. Like signing up for that expensive baking class. Ethan hates the smell of cooking oil, so I haven't touched the oven in 3 years. Now I want to bake something, even if I burn it no one will scold me. I ran into him in the elevator after work. It was just the two of us. Congratulations, he said. Thank you. You used to be not that good. I was too busy falling in love before. The elevator numbers dropped from 18 to 1. He suddenly asked, is that succulent still all right? It bloomed. He froze. How is that possible? That species never blooms. Maybe it just got a different environment. Just like me. When the door opened he grabbed my sleeve. I got a raise. I bought that development you were looking at before. Congratulations. Anna. His voice tightened. I've learned how to apologize. I looked out the window, it was raining. People without umbrellas were running. Ethan, some words lose their meaning once they're overdue. He let go of my hand and stood still, watching me walk into the rain. He didn't follow. Maybe he finally understood that chasing wouldn't help. In spring the succulent really bloomed. Little pink and white flowers, the size of grains of rice. I took photos and posted them. A mutual friend commented, "Isn't that Ethan's mom's pot?" It actually bloomed. Ethan liked the post. After a while he unliked it. Maybe he felt embarrassed. In baking class I learned to make macarons. Hard, I failed several times. The teacher praised my patience. I said I had once waited for someone. I waited 3 years and learned it. My classmates laughed. Only I knew it was true. Now I wait for no one. Suddenly I have so much more time. I went to the library on the weekend and, surprisingly, finished a novel. A love story whose ending was reconciliation. I closed the book and wondered why a broken mirror must be mended. Things that have been shattered, even if glued back together, still bear cracks. Better to buy a new one. At Monday's morning meeting, Ethan proposed a plan full of holes. The director tore into him in front of everyone. He never used to make mistakes like that. After the meeting he cornered me in the pantry. "You saw me humiliated. Happy now?" "Ethan," I said, steeping a tea bag, "your life already has nothing to do with me." His eyes were red, "But now every morning when I wake up, I still feel like you're by my side." "I've changed a lot, really, won't you at least take a look?" I watched the tea leaves unfurl in the hot water. "Do you remember I'm allergic to mango? At the last department dinner, the juice you ordered was mango." "Look," I said, tossing the tea bag into the trash, "you can't even remember my birthday, and you say you've changed." He stood there ashen-faced. Like a tree struck by lightning. At the company's year-end party I won the top prize, a trip for 2 to Europe. The host heckled, "Perfect to go with your boyfriend." The room fell silent. Everyone knew we'd broken up. I smiled as I took the prize card. "I'll take the cash instead." Ethan watched from the audience, his wineglass clutched so tightly it was almost crushed. He'd drunk too much at the banquet and came over to ask me, "If I learned to remember your allergies now, would it still be in time?" "I learned to eat mangoes last year. Slowly, now I can eat rice mixed with mango juice." His eyes brightened for a moment. "But it's not for you, it's for myself." The light in his eyes dimmed again. "I understand, you really don't love me anymore." Music started, an old love song. He staggered as he turned. I reflexively reached out to steady him. Just like countless times before. He grabbed my wrist with his other hand, one last time. I pulled my hand back. "Ethan, don't make it worse for yourself." He laughed, uglier even than crying. "This is how I used to treat you, isn't it?" I didn't answer. We both knew the answer. That night he sent me one last email. "I'm sorry." He wrote that apology, deleted it, rewrote it, and it took him half a year to finally send it. Like a late rain. Falling on a mountain fire already burned to ashes. Yesterday, cleaning out an old phone, I came across the unsent little essay in the notes. Written on the 10th day of the cold shoulder. "Ethan, I know you hate it when I cry, but I'm really so sad. Can you hold me, like when we first met? I promise this will be the last fight." Reading it now feels like something from a past life. I tapped select all and deleted. Emptied the trash. The succulent has bloomed again, this time with pale yellow flowers. I took a photo and posted it on Xiaohongshu, and someone actually asked how to care for it. It turns out a dead tree can really see spring again. But a broken mirror can't be mended. I ran into Ethan at the supermarket last week. He was buying instant noodles. When he saw me, he hurriedly hid the basket behind him. He'd lost a lot of weight, his suit hanging a bit loose. "I'm being transferred to a branch office." I heard. "I might never come back. Safe travels." He looked at the mangoes in my shopping cart. "You'd better not eat too many. You're allergic." "Thanks for your concern." He insisted on paying for me at the checkout. I refused. When we stepped outside it was raining, he chased after me and shoved an umbrella into my hand. New, never used. I accepted it. The next time I passed the supermarket I returned it to the service desk. Some kindnesses are like expired antacid, unnecessary now, simply unnecessary. On the way home I got a message from my best friend. Ethan's leaving today, not going to see him off? I replied with a sun emoji. The rain had stopped and a rainbow hung on the horizon. Short, but beautiful. Like some feelings, no need to last long, it's enough to have experienced them. I posted a photo of a rainbow. Caption: the sky cleared. This time everyone could see it.